Hello there voltage modular people, PoohBear here and welcome to my channel. And today we're going to do a technical overview of InRanRand. It's my new in-range randomizer. It's quite a straightforward device. It produces a random value and it's more built around the kind of MIDI scale. I say the MIDI scale because obviously it depends on what you're actually selecting for your output of what's actually going to happen. So let's have a very quick look at this. We've got ourselves a trigger in. So in all my devices, even though they say a trigger in, it doesn't matter if it's a trigger or a gate to actually activate it. We have a minimum and a maximum knob, and these go from a value of, as you can see, C-2 to G8, or from 0 to 127. So say I'm kind of following the MIDI scale. You have to have a minimum of 2 values set. There's no point in having just one value. You might as well go and use something like a DC source. So it has a minimum of 2 values set, and if you sort of move the maximum down and then you move the minimum up, if the minimum's going higher than the maximum, it automatically moves the maximum up and vice versa, and you'll see that in action in a minute. This is where it becomes a little bit more special, is in the unique mode. In the off mode, basically that is just like a box standard randomizer. It's just going to keep randomizing whatever the range is set to. The last is more of an interesting one because it makes sure it would never select the last value again in a randomized sequence. So let's say I've set this from C-2 to something like F, which should give you something like a range of 5. If I've selected, say, number 2, next time I come to do a randomization, I cannot pick number 2. I've already just selected it, so I can pick another one. And when I pick that one, 2 then becomes available. So theoretically, you could end up flip-flopping, say, between these 2 in the randomization process. I doubt that's going to happen, but that could happen. And then we have an all. So basically, that's going to make sure that if I come along and do the same example, so I select 2, that goes away. Then I've only got to randomize this amount, take that one, then I've only got 3, take that one, then it's 2, then that's my last one. Now, as soon as I choose my last one, they all become available again. However, because that was the last one available, I've got to select for one of these. But as soon as I select for one of these, that one then becomes available next time, and then it won't become available again. So it just resets itself once everything's been selected. And it's quite a nice one, especially when you've got a smaller range, to make sure that you're actually going to randomize, say, between a particular range. Now, we've got a few different outputs. 1 volt 127 and 1 volt 5 volt 127, they kind of are the same thing. You could have taken 5 volt and divided it by 5, or you take 1 volt and times it up by 5. I just found myself I end up doing a lot of things in these modes, so it's just easy enough to switch it for me. The 5 volt range, it all comes down to what your actual range is, to what you're dividing that 5 volts by. But do note, it's doing it on the range, not the actual number range, if that makes sense. Probably doesn't. So if I had, say, from C-2, say, to B-2, that's going to give me a range of 12. If I go from C1 to B1, again, that's a range of 12. So the actual output is going to be exactly the same. So don't look at these and go, oh, but this means it's number, say, like if you're on like C3 or C4, it'd be like 60 in the MIDI world. Well, it's not going to output that there. It's to do with the volt range it's dividing by. So the amount of range you've got, that's what's going to be divided by that 5. And then obviously we've got a full KB output. So again, if you are from C1 to B1, it is going to be C1 to B1, it's going to output, and C-2, it'd be C-2, it'll output. So that's box standard. So them 3 will be correct. This one is based on the range, so it's a slightly different kind of output. And I'll show you where we can use these different things. So let's have a couple of different looks at some examples. With the 1 volt 127, as you can see, we've got a 1 volt 127 here. But we've also got a full with my Jazzy Jukebox, so I could use either output in this particular case. But one of the things I like to do with Jazzy Jukebox is I'll actually use the output from the flip-flop counter, which again is a 1 volt 127. So if I was to put that output into this A, there's nothing stopping me taking this one and putting it into the B. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to flip between using this counter to drive Jazzy Jukebox and then flip into using a randomization process. And this is something I like to do. So it would be a simple case, and obviously I need to wire the X up actually into that to actually start seeing numbers actually happening, and we need to make sure that's obviously on the flip mode in this particular case. As you can see, we've got some randomization going on here. I've actually got this set to quite a small range of just 5. Notice it goes from 1 to 5 in this case. Remember that if it's on 0, 0 is a number. It does count for something, so that's a range of 6. From 0 to 5 would be 6. So when I'm tending to do certain ranges, I might just do it for 1 to 5. Just makes it easier in your head when you're working things out. So yeah, so we've got ourselves a simple randomization, and it'll also work with the flip-flop counter to flip between the two, which is quite a nice one. With the 5-volt range, what I find has been quite good, and one of the reasons I actually kind of came up with that is obviously we've got the 8 to 1 and the 1 to 8 switches, and by actually using this output, we can obviously have this output going in here. What have I got myself? I said I've got a range of 5, so if I put this down to say 5 steps, so we've got 5 steps. Now it's on all, so every time we're going to start hitting it, we should see unique numbers coming out there. And now it's probably going to go back into a recycle. Yep, so every single time it's going through. So it's basically saying, right, every time we're going to hit this, we're going to make sure we are going to hit these 5 ports, but not in turn, you know, randomly. So yeah, that works really well, I say, with the switchers. Then obviously we got the 5-volt or the 1-volt, and where I find them quite handy is, you know, you can actually use it for using gating information to control your gate lengths, your velocity. So at the moment we're on the 5-volt, so that's actually a very small range, as you can see. So I need to sort of put this up, and you can start seeing it much better there. And obviously if I go to a 1-volt, it's going to be very, very tiny, so you're going to need obviously a larger range here. But it could be that I might say, actually, I only want to randomize up at that other higher end. So it's going to be a higher end. Let's put them back onto 5 volts so you can see it more. It's now going to randomize in that very high end area. Or I might say, actually, I only want it to go a little bit from where we started for a bit of randomization. And remember that these are positive. So it's just a unipolar signal, so it's not a bipolar signal. So it's always going to be positive, so you set this to your base or your minimum level, and then this will obviously add on top of it. So that's what I find that quite handy. And obviously I think the full keyboard range goes without saying, because obviously you can obviously push it into any kind of pitch oscillator you've got, or whatever else you want to control. So that is InRanRand, and you'll be seeing it pretty soon in one of my larger projects. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.